Welcome to the Midwest Moguls Show, where we talk all things business, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Let's dive into today's episode and make business enjoyable again. Welcome back to the Midwest Mogul Show. It is Carter Crowley here, your host, and today we are breaking down a recent workshop that I had personally attended in hopes of scaling our business, growing the flipping, the wholesaling business, rental property portfolio, so on and so forth. So I'm sure if you're watching this video right now, you have some sort of entrepreneurial dream, aspirations, or if you're listening to the audio feed, one and the same. And you are probably familiar with Alex Hormozi. So the workshop I attended was his weekend, or not even a weekend, it was actually during the week. It is a 2-day, I can't even remember, I think it's a 2-day scaling workshop. My thoughts, opinions, everything like that, phenomenal. I think it's worth its weight in gold. I took away a ton of very important lessons, information that I'm going to share with you here in the next couple minutes. And I would highly, highly recommend, as long as your business has some sort of process in place or some sort of implementation, or it's worthwhile for you to attend something like this so you can take away certain things and grow and become better, I would highly encourage you to seek it out, because the team there is a 10 out of 10. They are absolutely phenomenal. They're fantastic at what they do. The information that they have in their brains is like no other. And then the opportunity to network and meet other individuals in similar lines of work while you're there is also a really cool benefit bonus. So I attended this back in July. I think it was the beginning of July. So a couple months ago at this point. And truth be told, the information that I learned, we've already implemented in our business. There's still some stuff that we're working on, but our pipeline for deals has skyrocketed. In the last 2 months, 60-ish days since getting back and implementing, the amount of deal flow that we've had just from like small tweaks, like little miscellaneous things, has been worth the $5,000 ticket to go out there, plus flights, plus hotels, so on and so forth. So I would highly recommend doing it if you can justify the $5,000 in ticket cost at the time of this recording. I thought it very worthwhile. But let's actually break down what we went over at the scaling workshop. So they give you this long book. This is, let's see, for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, it's 76 pages. So it's just a bunch of different information. You can make notes. They have a lot of slides that they present the entire time. There's a sales pitch at the end of day 1 and at the end of day 2. I did not decide to sign up for that because it was an extra roughly $35,000 to $50,000 in cost that I didn't think would benefit us. The biggest takeaway: a wholesaling business is not really a sellable business model. Neither is a flipping business. Like home construction, that is totally different. Like new construction of houses, real estate development, property management, or rental property portfolios, those are all scalable business models because you have the reoccurring revenue stream. You have a lot more scale to it versus like wholesaling. It is very operational intense or operationally intense. And it's not, there's a lot of key man risk, as they would describe at the workshop. It's a very tough business model, but you can generate a whole lot of cash revenue. So that's where it's like, hey, we can scale this. It's just probably not an exitable style of business. So the big takeaways for me, and I'm actually gonna share my screen with you here in the next little bit, but the first thing that they always recommend to do is go throughout your entire week. So Monday through Sunday for 1 week straight, document what you're doing every 15 to 30 minutes for the entire week, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. The main reason for this being is like, where are you getting distracted? Are you spending too much time on social? You need to audit your time log so you know like what I'm doing, what's actually benefiting the business, what's taken away from the business. Are there certain dollar per hour tasks that I'm still implementing that I could either have technology do, or a virtual assistant do, or an admin that you hire in office do? all of these things are extremely, extremely important. And it's just one of those realizations that it's like, if you don't think about it, you never do it. So then you get just caught up doing the miscellaneous tasks of sending out this email or manually typing out this script or whatever the case is, versus utilizing the technology that you probably already have in your business and just making things more efficient. So for me, we went back through, so now in our CRM, we have, of course, all the touch points, all the automations, everything like that set up. We have title company introductions, we have seller introductions to title companies, to other insurance agents, to reps, to all these different facets within our business that's applicable, that we literally just click. We make multiple mouse clicks. We might have to type in a few miscellaneous things, but then we send it out. Literally 10 minutes saved per transaction, which adds up over the course of a week. And it decreases the monotony of what you're specifically having to do. So the time audit was huge. And then it also reflects back on, where are my strong suits in the business? For wholesaling or flipping, wholesaling is much different than flipping, and I'll get back to that a little bit later on in this podcast of what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. But if you are an owner-operator in your business, there's generally things that generate, there are typically tasks and things that you do that generate revenue. You should be focused on those, the highest dollar per hour tasks that generate you the most revenue. Now, of course, there's miscellaneous stuff that comes along with it. It's hard to pull yourself out of that within 2 to 3 months. You should look at it more as like a 12 to 24 month goal of pulling you out of some of those jobs or duties within your business. Now, to that fact, they also, like Alex comes in at the very end of day 2 and he does like a Q&A with some of the top businesses in the room, because there's 100 different people there. There's 100 different people there every single week for the last however many years. So he comes in at the end of day 2. Otherwise, it's his team running it the entire time. And his team is extremely knowledgeable. They're very, very intelligent. I enjoyed talking to them more than I enjoyed the Q&A at the very end, because it's what they're telling us is a lot more applicable to a smaller size business doing between $1 million to $3 million a year in revenue. So when I was talking to Ed from the team, what he had mentioned to us is, like, I'm like, hey, we've been stuck at a revenue threshold. What should we do to grow? And he's like, well, you're doing too much. And I'm like, well, what do you specifically mean by that? He's like, well, you're operating 3 businesses right now. And I'm like, well, how so? He said, well, you're wholesaling real estate. That's one business. You're flipping real estate. That's a totally different business where you're managing contractors and relationships and debt and financing and everything like that. And then you're also building out a rental property portfolio, which is managing property management, managing contractors, managing service providers, talking with tenants. He's like, those are 3 separate businesses. So in order to achieve scale or exponential growth, what are you going to stop doing? And then it dawned on me in a very unfortunate way, truth be told, that I'm like, he is 100% right. Like we want, as real estate investors, we want to do all of these miscellaneous things. We want to build out the rental property portfolio. We want to do flipping. We want to do wholesaling. And we get shiny object syndrome of, hey, this is working versus this is not working. We should do more of this versus not doing as much of this. And you get so distracted that you don't have the main focus. And for us, it made me reflect a ton on our average margins, because what they said is like, hey, say our average wholesale fee is 15 grand. Well, if 100% of our time was focused on wholesaling real estate, the chances that we could increase that average profit margin would be exponentially more likely. We would have more time for disposition of properties. We would have more time to try and get that disposition price higher, thus resulting in more net profit to the business and less, ultimately over time, less work involved with each individual transaction, because flipping houses or rental properties are very time intensive, and sometimes it's not worthwhile to do that. So what it it made me change, at least in our side, is we take a wholesale first approach from now on. The properties that we're buying as rentals, they have to meet a very specific criteria, or it has to be an extremely good deal. So for our rental property parameters, I am not the one heading that division in our business. And we're lucky because we have scale within our business. We have team members. My dad manages the flip houses side of things. My brother manages the rental property side of things. I manage, and Joe helps out with the wholesaling division, which we'll talk about here in the next upcoming episodes. But if we didn't have the proper team members and I was trying to run flip houses, rental properties, wholesaling houses, your time is stretched thin. And you become so distracted, so overwhelmed with the amount of work, the payroll responsibilities, the paying of the subcontractors on the job sites, that you don't keep the main thing the main thing. And for us, wholesaling, the cash conversion cycle, 30 days at the most, typically. Like that's probably on average about 30 days to get a $15,000 to $20,000 check. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I love that idea, and the risk associated with it is so much less. Now, when we're evaluating flip houses, we went from a targeted average profit margin of, I think last year, 2025, we were averaging about $29,000 on flip houses, average profit margin. This year, $45,000 is the goal. So we are ever increasing that because we're like, well, if a flip takes us 90 days to turn, 3 months, and if we're making $15,000 a month or $15,000 every 30 days on wholesaling, we're better off flipping a place if we can make 45 plus. But in addition to that, on our side, it has to be a strict cosmetic remodel. We are not taking on these heavy lifts where we're sticking more than $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 into a place to flip it. It is counterintuitive to what we're trying to accomplish. And it costs us way too much time, energy, resources, money, all of the above. So our goal with the flip houses, a net $45,000+ profit margin. We need to be in and out, like on the rehab side, within 45 days at the very most, ideally closer to 30 from time that work commences. And we need to be able to make a decent margin. Otherwise, we can take it the wholesale route, make $10,000 to $15,000 quick, or wholetailing it, buying it, cleaning it out, relisting it, shoot for $30,000 on that side of things. But we're very selective now with the properties that we're flipping. And in addition to that, rental houses. How do rentals come into play? Because as we all know, there's no retirement accounts with real estate investors unless you're funding one yourself, but you're not working for some sort of corporation if you're doing this on your own. You have to be smart when it comes to your financial future. So for most real estate investors, that involves acquiring rental properties. So our buy box is very strict. We will look at apartment complexes, that's over here. Storage units are out. I do not like storage units unless we get opportunities to own more right in a mile radius of our current facilities. I have no interest in buying other ones. They are way too time intensive for the amount of margin that is currently being made on them. In my experience, for our specific properties, you might have a different experience and you're definitely entitled to that. I don't love storage units though. So it's apartments, single family houses, 3-bed or 2-bed ranch style houses built 1950 or later. That is our select criteria. Now, if we find something that is outside of that realm, do we still possibly entertain the thought? Maybe. It really depends on, again, the deal that comes with it. But otherwise, we are very strict when it comes to that criteria, because then we can scale it. Then we can implement the systems, the processes. We know how much flooring we're gonna need. We know how much paint. We know the general labor costs that we should expect to pay on those job sites. So it's predictable when we're running our initial numbers. So these are all the things that I was breaking down in my mind over the course of the 2 days that I was there in Las Vegas. You have to travel to Vegas for the event. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I would come back to the hotel after everything was done, and I put all the notes I made from that day into my computer, into Google Drive files. If you guys need to see them or you want to see them, just email me, carter@flipfoxvalley.com. I can send you over some of our action items that we're going to be implementing. But it was extremely, extremely beneficial because it not only gave me the permission to, and this is the stupidest thing, man, like why would I need permission to stop doing certain things in the business? You just do. As a business owner, you think you need to do everything, but you really don't. But it gave me the permission to let go of roles, responsibilities that I shouldn't necessarily be worried about anymore. And per the acquisition.com team, my business style is marketing first. Very heavy into the marketing side. And per what they had recommended, marketing and sales are the last two things that founders should get out of in the business. Those are the highest ROI style skills to have. And the more you can perfect those yourself, the better off the business is going to do, and that should be the last thing that you try and exit. Because typically an owner can sell a lot better than like a salesperson that they hire. A owner can market because they know how to market a lot better than a marketing firm that they hire. And even if you do decide to hire them, you can still do things on your own, or you can still be a part of that process, meaning like you hire a salesperson, but you're still in a sales role because there's more business that's coming in similar to our business. Joe's in an acquisition role. I'm also in an acquisition role. I like it, Joe likes it, we're doing more deals together, we're ultimately making more money. And then going through, again, what is the company vision? Like something as simple as that. Like what are we trying to do with this? Our goal moving forward is $2 million gross per year in revenue. I think we can hit that without a doubt in my mind, especially on the trajectory that we're at now. We were stuck right around that like 1 to 1.1, 1.15-ish mark in revenue. I think we can double it without any issues by literally doing less work, taking on less stressful projects, by just being a little bit more systematic in our approach, maybe expanding a little bit outward, not just staying in our small little Fox Valley marketplace, but going to Milwaukee, going to Madison, going to these other cities within Wisconsin that we can increase our average margin on a deal. And ultimately wholesaling more places because it's a lot less stressful, a lot less hassle. When you just contract a place, you sell a contract within 4 or 5 hours, you're on to the next deal. You have a buyer that's going to perform, just keep turning and burning. You could do 20 of those in a month versus 4 flip houses. Like I would much rather do the 20 wholesale deals at the end of this. What else did we go through? So this is a big one. What does good look like? Now, everyone has their own interpretation of what expectations are. As the business owner, have you clearly defined those expectations to the other people in your business? The contractors, the lenders that you're working with, the title companies, the realtors that you're working with. What is your definition of good? Because I'll give an example. If I hire a real estate agent to list a place, how much communication do I want? If we're not getting any activity, what is the expectation when it comes to marketing, price reductions, open houses, so on and so forth? Or again, when you hire a contractor, what does good look like with the contractor? Do you expect to pay them on a weekly basis? What quality of work do you want? When should you expect the project to be done with? Like all these different things that go into what your interpretation is versus what their interpretation is. And if you don't have that written down or agreed upon in advance of starting some sort of adventure together, there is going to be a lot of expectations that are not met. And it's no fault but your own. And that, again, it is very applicable to us in our business because we've had people join that we just don't clearly set the expectation. We don't give them a defined role of, hey, this is what should be taking place on a weekly or a daily basis. If it's not met, we're gonna have to have a conversation, and you learn from your mistakes. And ideally, the best way is to learn from other people's mistakes, but again, I am not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, so it is what it is there. And going into the other stuff, again, I talked about team leads for different business avenues. Again, having a team lead for rental properties, a team lead for wholesaling, myself, team lead for flipping houses, Brian, who's responsible for that, and then basically having them take full responsibility moving forward. Sorry about that, my phone's going off. And of course, it's a spam caller. And then making all the decisions in your business based upon KPIs. So should we decide to increase the marketing budget this month or this week? Over the last 30 days, what was our average cost per lead? What was our average cost per contract? Let's make informed decisions in the business, and the only way you can do that is through data. How much are we spending on the average flip house? How long is the average flip house taking us? Is there a way to increase our net profit by decreasing the amount of time we spend on a project, or only focusing on certain projects that net us more money? Looking at, the year built of the properties, the style of properties that you're buying, the expected rehab budget that you're wanting to stick into there. All of these things become applicable, and once you start to focus, in the beginning, again, this is probably more for experienced operators, but if you're a newbie to the game, it is very beneficial, because then you will at least have the system or processes moving forward for how you want to run your own business once you reach a certain scale. So for us, we track the different numbers when it comes to the business. What is our average cost per deal right now with Google advertising versus SEO versus direct mail versus referrals or realtors or you name it? You can pretty much do it Facebook advertising. It doesn't really matter. You track that, you see what's working, what's not working. You do more of the stuff that's working. And for some of you out there, you might have heard of like the constraint of you shouldn't have one marketing channel. What they specifically told us there is unless you're producing $3 million a year from that one marketing channel, your business, there's still plenty of untapped business to come from that marketing channel. So I'm like, well, we're definitely not producing $3 million a year from Google ads or Facebook ads or what have you. So there's room to grow and scale within that one marketing method and perfect it. Perfect that craft, systemize it, document what needs to be done, and then learn to grow and scale into the next opportunity, whether that's direct mail or cold calling or texting. Again, whatever you prefer in your business. But we put these limiting beliefs in our own mind because you hear a podcast or you watch a YouTube video about how so-and-so was doing TV advertising. They're doing 100 deals a year from TV. Now you want to start doing TV. Or they're doing 10 deals a year from cold Facebook outreach or realtor referrals or what have you. So then you start doing that. And you take your eye off of the thing that's making you the most amount of money because there's this next shiny object. And that has happened to us more times than not. So then I'm like, fuck it. Like, we're shutting down everything else. We are going to focus. We are going to increase our budget. We are going to implement, and niche down. And honestly, like I said, the business has grown. Literally in this week, we've locked up 5 houses in 1 week. So we were averaging 5 houses per month 60 days ago. We just did 5 in 1 week. It could be the time of year. I will give it that. It could be a fluke thing. I will also give it that. Or it could just be that we're actually implementing on the stuff that we learned, and we continue to grow as operators in the wholesale, in the flipping, in the rental property space for real estate investment. And then I had a bunch of different notes on a general list of stuff that we should be providing and other information. And then let me just see what else. And the other thing that they did mention is most businesses, which is applicable in the real estate investment space, most businesses doing 1 to 3 million a year in revenue, they are simply distracted. Similar to what I've talked about for the last 20 some minutes in this podcast, that we were extremely distracted. We were trying to do too many different things. Focus, niche down, maybe expand the marketplace that you're willing to operate in, but just get really freaking good at what you're doing. If you're really good at flipping houses, look to do more house flips. Talk to more wholesalers. Try to acquire more off-market deals. Don't necessarily try to market for those deals yourself, because then it increases the overhead that you have to spend on a monthly basis, and it might not be worthwhile to you in the long run. Instead, what I would personally do is spend the time, create those relationships with wholesalers in your marketplace, and just become better. Be a better business owner, and don't get distracted. And again, I'm just saying this from my own experience. We were very distracted. We were doing too many different things. Just shut it off. Just ultimately shut it off so you don't need to worry about it. And then also, the last thing, this is the golden nugget that I'm going to leave you with. The last thing that I think you should implement, and I'm just watching people outside my house because I'm recording this from the home office here, if you guys are watching on YouTube. The last thing that I will leave you with right now is make sales easier for everyone in your business. That's the magic question. How do you do that? It might come down to credibility packets. It might come down to providing the owners with the information they want up front before scheduling an appointment or scheduling a meeting. It will involve over-informing them, providing them so much value up front. Think of Alex Hormozi. I paid for a $5,000 ticket, never talked to him, obviously, he's way too busy for that. I talked to a salesperson they were saying they're 19 years old, who literally, you could tell, was reading a script. It almost sounded like AI. If it was AI, I would have still bought the $5,000 ticket, because the amount of value that he had provided up front was well worth it for me to take the perceived risk of trying to scale our business. So if you take that plan of action moving forward with any way or any realm of business or opportunity, whether it's real estate, whether it's a contracting business, whether it's something else, over-inform up front, answer the questions that most homeowners have, the objections that most homeowners have when you're going in for the close. If you can do that in advance of the appointment ever even taking place, they will trust you more. You're going to build better rapport. You can focus on the relationship side of things more than the actual deal, so you don't have like commission breath or seem too pushy, and you're ultimately going to get more opportunities and more deals. So we've done a lot of stuff on our side to help with that. Again, drip campaigns, automations, videos, information, credibility packets, you name it. We've tried to implement that over the last 60 days. And our average conversion rate alone has jumped up from, and I'm specifically talking online advertising, it has jumped from 3% to 15%. So a 5x return on the stuff that I have implemented. That alone is worth the $5,000 I spent on the ticket. So again, you have to be willing to learn, you have to be willing to adjust, grow, and become a better business operator, become a better version of yourself, and you will have an extreme amount of success with the information that you would learn. But if you guys have questions, again, like I said, email me, carter@flipfoxvalley.com. I hope you found this information valuable. I would highly encourage you, especially if you're at the financial point in your business, to go to the scaling workshop. I thought it was awesome. I don't know if ticket prices have increased or not, but for me, it was worthwhile spending the time away. Again, I think it was on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that during the week, so I could get away. I flew out like the day before, I flew back the day after. So it wasn't anything too crazy, but the information there, the knowledge, the resources that his team has is unbelievable. So hopefully you guys got value out of this podcast. I will plan on talking to you soon. And if you need anything in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out. And remember to hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one.